We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball!
To the end zone! Oregon! Mariota dives! Touchdown! They hand it off straight out! C.J. Verdell wins the game for Oregon!
Inside the 10! A hat-trick, a touchdown from Justin Herbert! Howard's going to run for it. Time runs out, and that'll do it! Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon! They storm the field at Autzen!
All right, Duck fans, here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Ducks Rising podcast, sponsored by Backer and Water Ave Coffee. My name's Zachary and my co-host, Travis Rooklet. Travis, what's up, man? It's been a long day. I know we're tired. I weirdly still have a ton of energy despite being exhausted. Signing day. This is the best. What's up, man?
Yeah, it's the only tiredness, overtired excitement I can compare is coming off of being at college game day all day and then going to a game and I'm like, whew, all right, but I'm too excited, so I want to watch the replay or something like that. So definitely been a crazy day, I know, for everyone out there, but I know it's been a fun, crazy day over at Ducks Rising.
Yeah, it's signing day has always been fun. And for Oregon, usually fun too. But then, when you get to the Dan Lanning era of signing day, it's this is an actual holiday. You don't know what's going to happen. We kind of expected what the fireworks may be today, but then, more stuff comes up and rumors. It's that couldn't happen, could it? And then it's there might be some traction there. I don't know. It's been a lot. My first alarm went off at 4 this morning. Watching for news to roll in, so I was able to go back and sleep a little bit, but commits, potential flips, OC news, coaching departures, just absolutely jam-packed. So I know that I'm going to sleep well tonight. I'm sure you will as well. It's been a really, really fun 12 hours or so.
There's nothing that matches the drama of college football in itself, but then this day specifically, I think, adds the intrigue above all else. What's crazy is this year was supposed to be the quiet year, and it's generally, I would say it's generally been that. You just don't have the lined up announcements of a bunch of 5-stars and different things, which I kind of miss that time, I have to say. But we'll see what shakes out here while we're on the call, maybe, or the next couple days.
I know. I'm glad that you have the chat open. I still have my phone right next to me charging because it's my phone and computer almost died. While I was at Lanning's press conference, I'm all right, you knew you were going to be busy today. You got to keep these charged. So that's on me. Obviously, an absolutely loaded show today. We're going to go over some notable stuff from Lanning's press conference, which just wrapped up about 30 minutes or so ago. We're going to go through the signing class for Oregon with a fun little game, just talk about all the players instead of going through them one by one. We're going to talk about Will Stein and Tosh Lupoi getting their coaching jobs and the replacements at Oregon or potential replacements. After that, we're going to talk CFP rankings, which came out last night, which feels like that happened, days ago after all that's happened today. But that's what we got in store. Sound good?
Let's do it.
Before we get to Dan's presser, I also just want to take this time to say, today on Lockerverse in the Ducks Rising channel, a perfect example of what's great about that. So much fun. You were telling me, a ton of new members. We both want to get the count for how many messages throughout the day, but that was a perfect encapsulation of what this community has become to be. So just a quick promo for Lockerverse. If you're not on there, I encourage it because days like today were incredibly fun.
Totally. We've always said I think the live kind of chat flow that we have is definitely built for certain things, and there's certain times, totally full disclosure, that it's not built for it, but today, like you said, is the perfect day for it in every way. Been really fun to see a lot of new names in there, new people, just free flow. It feels like a group chat in a lot of ways, just like one you'd have with a bunch of your buddies, but these are all diehards from across the country, so that's been exciting. I know I dropped a free link in there all over my Twitter account that'll still be there at the end of the day. I think we plan to kind of continue it throughout the week as news comes in. So definitely a great time to check it out. We appreciate all the new members and feel like we got a good thing going.
All right, let's start with Dan's presser. I know you were able to watch it. Any initial major takeaways, things that he talked about? Before we hopped on, you just remarked he's just so good at answering questions. And it's like, yeah, he really is. He takes like subtle jabs at other teams like when he needs to, but like it's not enough to be bulletin board material. Like he's really good at this, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Dan is I feel like we got to remember, first and foremost, he's always recruiting. So every little thing on there, I think there was a couple little comments that I think you could certainly read between the lines. Maybe a little shot at Ryan Day or a shot over at USC signing 30 million guys. So I think, yeah, I mean, Dan is just so polished. I think his answers like have such clear intent in all of them, but ultimately it always comes back to like bring guys in, and he's talking about the culture or the fit or the environment that he has. I thought his answer about like sitting down with every player and mapping out a plan was really interesting. So I definitely think it's a press conference that every Duck fan who's listening to this should certainly have the time to listen to something like that. But it's just an exciting class. I mean, in every way.
Yeah, I agree. I love when he said this, like, yeah, quality over quantity. Like, we're not trying to take every guy here. We're trying to get the guys that can make an instant impact. Right when he said it, I was like, all right, USC. And then he's like, yeah, we'll sit the guys down and tell them about potential coaching changes. We don't want to pull the rug out from under them and shock them. I'm like, all right, shot at Ohio State. Like, there you go. Your two biggest rivals right now on the recruiting trail. He also did some really good stuff talking about, coordinators and what he's looking for in new coordinators. Talked a lot about what he learned from working with Tosh and Will and Kinney about what he likes in coordinators that he didn't quite know that would be important to him before. So yeah, like you said, if you have not listened to his presser, like I highly encourage it. It's 20 minutes long, which, we never get that long with him. So really good stuff with him and just, a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and I think like when it comes to specific players, I know we'll get to him, but I think his comment about like where he could see Jet Washington was really interesting. I think we've gone over and over, and Jeff has, and everything about Thieneman in that like stack role in that cover 2 with 3 safety look, and he mentioned you could see Jet there, which is something I had thought about a long time ago, but I think honestly forgot. And then when you picture Jet's size, speed, combo, height, everything, you're like, dang, yeah, I can see that fitting. So I think some of these, what's so crazy is we're losing DBs this year off our roster, Fields, Florence, who will be good players at this level because of our youth, and yet we're bringing in specifically 2 guys in Washington and Devon Benjamin, where I'm like, I don't know how these guys are going to stay off the field.
Exactly. And he even said that in the presser. It's like, yeah, it's fun every year. Like, we get the best players we can get, and then the challenge the next year is go get guys better than that and just try and like make that competition even better in practice. And by all means, it appears that they are doing so, because this looks like, right now the number 2 class in the nation could be number 1 when all is said and done, which leads me to, our first topic when we get into signing day. Eventually, we're going to go back and forth and kind of pick the recruits who we think are going to have the biggest impact on next year and early on in their Duck tenure. But for starters, I think that we need to talk about the elephant in the room, the story of the day, Chris Henry Jr. Not official yet, but this has been looking like a potential Dan Lanning special over the past 24 hours. I texted you last night that there was, I was hearing some growing confidence in things. You've heard some good things as well. There were times today when maybe we weren't feeling as good, but, if I were to take the temperature right now, I think we feel decent. Obviously, when fans listen to this, who knows? The story could be over. He could be a Duck. He could be a Buckeye. He could be a Longhorn. Who knows? Where are you at with this currently?
Honestly, like, at peace, because I think first and foremost, as much as you'd love to get him, like, it is by no means a position of need. I think what you're bringing in at that position already is a haul that anyone in the country would want. If you look at who's returning in that room, not many, wide receiver rooms in the country would trade with that. So I think first and foremost, like, that's in the bag. I think when it comes to him specifically, the relationship piece of things, I think, is in the bag. I think there's no doubt at this point, given Hartline's departure, that like our staff and the work that they've put in with him over the last 6 months, mostly under the radar, leaves us in a great spot when it comes to that. So I think with that box checked, I think the only thing that loses him right now is a financial offer that kind of is unrealistic or blows us out of the water. And I think at that point, this staff has always stuck to their plan. They've always stuck to their guns when it comes to that. They've always stuck to their charts and what makes sense for them. And I think you'll see them audible to portal options that are probably going to be there that you maybe even be able to get for less. So I just trust and have such a faith in Marshall and Dan to like execute recruitments like this down the stretch. And I just like feel at peace knowing that we've done everything we can from a relationship perspective. And so I think at this point you lose him, it's a financial piece. And I just trust us to like spend those finances in a really smart way otherwise.
Well, it's like you've always said, I mean, while Chris Henry might be more than 40% out of high school ranks, like why spend maybe $2-3 million on that when you can get a 90% player like Cam Coleman or Marsh from Michigan State out of the portal for cheaper than that. So I know that Henry being a West Coast guy and him being so freaking big and like by all means seems like he's going to be an incredible player. I would love to have him on this team, but again, you got to trust in Dan and Marshall here and say that, if it's not worth the money, not worth the squeeze, then like they're going to find elsewhere to go and fill that role.
And I will say with Henry, as you mentioned, I mean, the size is what we're missing. I mean, we don't have that big X body, red zone target, 50-50 guy down the field, back shoulder guy that I think Dante, if he does come back, like what a perfect fit there. So I do think he's a body type receiver that obviously the staff has identified would be a game changer when it comes to that, a guy that can play early when it comes to that. So I don't mean to soften the blow at all. Like I would absolutely love to have him 1000%. I just think like if he was a D tackle right now, I would be like living and dying with every second of it.
Totally.
I think just the fact that he's a receiver, like I'm not going to lose sleep over it if we do lose him. Yeah,
or like a linebacker, especially too, like somewhere where you really, really need them. But in this case, it's like okay, he feels like the cherry on top. This signing class is going to be really good, whether or not he's a part of it. So long as Jalen Lott, gets his paperwork in and is part of this, which I believe will happen. You believe will happen. Like we have said on the board all day, like, no real reason to be concerned here. Hopefully by the time we're done, it's taken care of and that's no longer a storyline, but we'll see there.
Yeah. I mean, that kid's a heck of an athlete. I think
you said on the board that you would rather have Lott than Henry. Can you explain that to me? I know it's close and I don't mean to put you on the spot.
It's close. I think the body type Henry provides, I can certainly see the argument. I just think Lott is an absolute freak of an athlete. The lineage he comes from, I mean, that is like a rare, like 1% athlete. And I just think what he can do, long speed, athletic ability, everything, I think he's going to be a hell of a player.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, either one, fantastic. Both, oh my God. Neither. Yeah. Okay, that's where it really gets tough. But I don't think that neither is gonna happen. I've
been trying to go through all today, like trying to predict out a 2 deep at receiver next year is
it's impossible.
It's honestly so fun and like exciting, but it is really hard to do because what's wild is we're like returning some dudes, but we're also like losing a ton of depth. I mean, as we see this year, we have like 4 guys there right now, so there's a lot of need for bodies in the room, but like every body being brought in is legit good and I could see playing next year. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out.
Well, speaking of playing next year and instant impact, let's open it up and talk about the entire class rather than just go down the list of guys and talk about what each one can do individually. We're going to have a little bit of fun. You know that Travis and I love to draft things when we can, which we've done several times on this podcast. We're going to go back and forth, pick 5 guys each who we think can have instant impacts at Oregon. Whether that's next year, the next 2 years, just, guys who we think will be really good really soon. Travis, go ahead and start us off.
All right. I'm going to go with Devon Benjamin.
Wow. I thought you might take him.
If we're talking early impact, like I said, I mean, I know we're returning a lot of guys in the secondary. We'll see what happens with Thieneman, but you're losing Kennedy in the slot. Dalen Austin's there, obviously has like gotten more and more reps as the season gone on. But if you told me right now that Devon Benjamin was the starting star in September next year, I honestly wouldn't be stunned. I just think what he provides from athletic ability, smarts, versatility, everything, I think he checks every box, and I could see that be a guy who could play early at safety, star, or DB, to be honest. So I just think he's one of those guys that you're just going to have to like find a way to keep him off the field.
Yeah, he feels like next year's version of Brandon Finney. Like, could totally see that where it's like, oh, you don't. I mean, because he's not a 5-star, it's like you're not hearing a ton of buzz about him like we were with Naeem and some of the other guys. But then when you get into training camp, it's like, oh, they literally can't not play this guy. Like, I totally agree with you. I wanted him as well. I am going to go with Tank Jones. I think that, seeing what someone like Nasir has done this year in the role that they've got him, Tank feels like a guy who can step in, and he's got that body type. I mean, Nasir's a little bit smaller. Tank is not. That guy can be a huge, very impactful edge rusher. It will depend on what Mateo does, and I mean, I think Tatum is back next year, but depending on what Mateo does, I think Tank could kind of step into that role, and even if they stay, they could find a role for him like third and Nas and just get him reps, because I think that he's going to be really impactful. I think he's got the size and the skill to do that.
It'll be interesting to see with him like what they want to do with his body, because I'm curious if he beefs up to like a Mateo size guy who's a little more of like a stout run defender and a power rush guy, or if they're going to try to lean him out a little bit and have him be more of that like twitchy speed guy. I lean a little bit more towards the first. Like, he has a lot of body to put on that frame. So
he's what, 245 around there?
Yeah, I don't.
I'll pull it up.
It looks like on 247 right now he's listed at 6'3.5", 240. I mean, who knows with these size weights?
A sheet from Oregon today that has their weights on it. So let me grab that. You talk about Tank for a sec.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think with Tank, he's big, solid run defender off the edge. Obviously, a guy coming from Bama that almost every school in the country wanted. I mean, you're fending off Miami, A&M, all these schools late for him. I mean, he's a guy that every heavy hitter in the country was going after. So, I don't know. I think either way, he sees a role early on. It's just going to be a question of, like, strength and how well he can stand up. I mean, you saw a guy like Elijah Rushing has taken a little bit of time to put on a little bit of weight. You've seen that with a guy like Aiden Breland, but you saw Tatum Tuioti walk right in and be ready to play. So, I think you learn early with some of these guys, like, are they physical enough to hold up right away, or are they going to need a year or two?
They have him listed at 6'3", 240 right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, he is kind of right in the middle where they could play him there and just, like, get him stronger at that weight, or they can beef him up 15, 20 pounds and have him be one of those more hybrid roles like Mateo does. Yeah. Do you want to go snake or back and forth? I didn't really decide. We didn't talk about it before.
You go, because I'm not ready.
Okay, I am. There's so many good guys here. It's like, do I take? I'm going to stay with the defense. I'm going to go Jet Washington. Like we already talked about, I think he can be one of those guys. A little bit tougher just because of, Oregon's really good at that safety position. I think that we will see more from, why am I blanking on his name right now? Not Aaron.
Lopa.
Thank you. I know his name, yeah. I
wasn't sure if you were thinking about McNutt either, because, I mean, he's not getting talked about a lot.
Yes, I wasn't, and I should have been. Yeah, the safety room is stacked, but Jet, like we talked about earlier, has the length and the size that I don't think is very common at that position. Oregon has him at 6'5", 205. So, like, that's... And, of course, Lopa is a big guy, too, and he's got a little bit more experience. But, like Dan was saying today, getting him in that Thieneman stack position in the 2 shell, I think is going to be really important. And I think that he's got a chance to kind of have a role early on with this team.
Yeah, I mean, once again, just another, like, big time athlete. Like, nephew of Kobe, so obviously got the bloodlines a little bit there, but you don't see many guys with that kind of height who run like that, athletic ability like that. So I think for him, especially if you're thinking in that cover 2 stack look, it's just going to be how quickly he can, pick up the offense, pick up the defense, be trusted in that role. I assume he's an early enrollee, which will be big for him. I mean, you can tell a big difference with guys who can get in January and picking up on stuff like that. But once again, another guy that it's like, I don't know, with the athletic ability he possesses, if he just combines that with the mental piece, like, I don't know how you can find a way to keep him off the field.
Completely agree. All right, you next.
I'm going to go Nacho. Okay. I think...
You think a guard or tackle?
I think it could be either. I think what's so nice about next season is I think we're going to go in with a lot more depth. in competition than we've seen in years past. So I think that's my only hesitation of like, hey, we've seen some of these guys now. You know, we've seen a Fox Crater come in and play well in a big time game. We've seen some of these interior guys that we feel good about. I mean, you've got Utu and Addison coming off of a red shirt. I know both of us have heard good things when it comes to those guys, but I think with Nacho, thinking about him as the next hopeful left tackle in the program, could be right tackle if it needs to be. I think that we'll look for opportunities to get him on the field early and just kind of get that clock moving. I could very easily see a path similar to like what we did with Josh Connerly his first year, where he's that extra O lineman, because I think that paid big dividends quick, you know, the next year where he could step right in and be ready to play. So I think for linemen, you know, sometimes if they're big physical dudes like Nacho and you know they have the ability to hold up, you sometimes just got to throw them out there and see what they look like. So I got to imagine we look for, you know, opportunities like that early in the year.
I'm very excited for the potential, like, names that the staff comes up for formations with Nacho in them. Like they did the 14J. Like they've got ways to kind of figure out, and we've talked about it before, especially on the board. Like the names in this class alone are just incredible. I already have just Nacho, Benjamin, Tank, Jet, and then like there's just so many good names. Beaver, Messiah. Like, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah. I like the Nacho pick. That's good.
All name team. All right, next one I'm going with a guy who should be signing here tomorrow, Kendra Harrison. Once again, just like absolute freak of an athlete. 6'7". I don't know if that's true, but I feel like he's at least probably 6'6". So
he's not listed on their sheet just because he's not signed yet, but yeah,
right.
I believe so.
Big time size, athletic ability, like really good hooper, like legit good enough hooper that he could he could especially play on our basketball team right now, sadly.
Anyone could, yeah.
We'll see how it looks next year, but just like freak of an athlete. Obviously losing Kenyon Sadiq, who's like the freakiest of freaks. I mean, Kendre is taller than him and possesses about as close to the, you know, athleticism that Kenyon provides. So, I got to imagine he's going to be in some of those definitely like 13 personnel looks if we go to them next year. But once again, if he can prove his ability as a blocker, another one of those guys like Jamari will be, where it's like, all right, we'll put you in line, then we'll split you out wide, and you can go beat a safety like that. So just another, I feel like every guy is just like size, speed, crazy. But I feel, same thing.
I mean, that's what this class really is, like a bunch of athletic freaks. Just like, yeah, the size of them, the length, the speed, the twitchiness. A side note, I forget where I heard it today. I was watching the Rivals recruiting feed and then the 247 recruiting feed for a while. Someone, I forget who it was, mentioned that they thought that Chris Henry could potentially at some point have to split out to like tight end because he was so big. And I was like, that's weird, because that would not, I don't think, be, well, I mean, maybe with as much depth as you have at receiver at Oregon, but Oregon does not need like more tight end bodies. So that was an interesting note for me. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty lean. You see that before sometimes.
215 though. He's 6'5",
yeah, but
215. But yeah, he's
I don't know.
Bulky. He's not
dramatic. I guess if you need to use him, if you needed to use him as a, wham blocker or something like that, yeah, you probably could. But I just see him as an outside guy. I don't see him as a guy you're like putting in motion the whole time.
I agree. All right, my next one, I'm very excited for the next two, because there's three guys that I really want, but I know that two of them are good. First one, Tredarian Ball. I think that this guy can be such a good... I mean, Oregon doesn't need help at the running back spot, but he offers a skill set where he can come out and be that slot receiver, be kind of like a DeAnthony or a Byron Marshall, like be a true like running back in the slot. I just remember last year, the year before that, whenever he was here for Saturday Night Live, it was just like, I didn't know who he was before. He committed right before it, I think. And then watching it was like, oh my God, who is this kid? Like, he was making some of the best catches. I mean, it was 7-on-7. They weren't running the ball. Him as a receiver was incredible. I mean, his route running, his speed, his ability to go up and catch the ball over pretty good defenders at that camp was really impressive. So, seeing how this team uses freshman running backs when they've got the opportunity and when they've got the ability is impressive this year. And so seeing what we've seen from Tredarian so far, I think he could be someone who comes in next year and has a bit of a role, depending what kind of offense they run, depending on who they hire at offensive coordinator, what kind of spot they can find for him.
Yeah, I would definitely probably expect some attrition in that room too. So I think he could be a guy that probably pushes, third spot, fourth spot early on. But like you said, I mean, similar to what we've seen Dr. Hill do out of the slot a little bit this year, I could see him have a similar role where you get him involved a little bit in the pass game. 21 personnel looks out of the backfield. So I think that's definitely a good one. And, definitely agree with your other point of like, I feel like this is 3 or 4 straight years or 3 out of the last 4 where we've seen a freshman running back at Oregon like carve out somewhat of a big role in the offense, whether it's a third down guy, a red zone guy this year with obviously Davison and Hill. So they're certainly not afraid early to throw a guy out there. And I think running back is one of those positions. If you can pick up the pass blocking aspect of it, like it's one of the easier spots to see the field early.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, the next one, I am going with Gatlin Bear. This guy, I mean, it was between him and Jalen. Like, we know the guys on the list, I can say it. Gatlin, I know that he's been away from football for a little bit just because of his mission. I'm curious to see what type of impact that has on him. But when he was playing, like it was his job, like he was so incredibly good, so fast. He's older. I think he's experienced. Again, I want to see what that transition looks like for him getting back into the game, getting into the grind. But, I mean, this guy's a 5-star for a reason. It's kind of like he was just the cherry on top of this class, too. It's like, he's not part of this class, but he did sign again today. It's like, oh, yeah, you also have another 5-star that you had just kind of sitting on ice for a couple of years. So I can't wait to see what he can do in this offense. It feels like a lot of people forget about him just because he's been away for so long, but he's really good, man. I want to see what that speed looks like in person.
He's one of those guys that I wish, like, if I could go to the first practice of the, new year and watch a guy, it would be like, I'm just curious what he looks like. I mean, you're coming off of 2 years, like I know Dan mentioned today, like limited contact. These guys don't have their cell phones. Their ability to train, I assume, isn't the most glamorous thing in the world. So, yeah, I mean, freak, every athletic ability in the world, obviously a highly rated guy, but you just wonder how quickly he's going to be able to acclimate to just like size, speed, quickness of the game. I think the picking up on the game, like understanding the playbook, stuff like that, I assume he's dialed. I wouldn't be surprised if like he's ahead on that type of stuff, given the maturity and given he might have already had this stuff with him. But that's just going to be one. It's like, how quickly do you adjust back to playing the game, especially given he's from Idaho, where, so like, I mean, you're going Idaho prep football, 2 years off, Big Ten football, like that's a hell of a jump.
Kenyon did well. He obviously didn't have the time off, but I mean, he did well making the jump from Idaho prep football to Big Ten football. But Kenyon's also a freak, so. Yep.
All right, one more each, or is that your 5?
I have one more, you have 2 more, which you do right now.
Okay. I talked about it earlier, but Jalen Lott might be my favorite guy in the class.
Yeah.
Like crazy athletic bloodlines, like I mentioned. Not just like long speed athlete, but like every type of athlete, track guy. I think you'll see him make some crazy catches just from his athletic ability. He reminds me, he's a little bit, not small, but not huge, 6-foot guy. So just in terms of what he's able to do with the ball in the air, reminds me a little bit of like what Evan Stewart did and some of the highlights you saw from him before injury. So I just think this is a guy, once again, I'm so interested to see how the wide receiver room shakes out. And if you told me Jalen Lott's our 4th wide receiver day 1 next year, that would not surprise me at all.
He is 6 foot, 175. Yeah, he does have that body type of like just real, and like you said, just real twitchy, so quick. Yeah, I like that. I would not be surprised if he has a role early on. He's going to be a very good player, if not next year, like throughout his career in Eugene.
Yep.
And he's also, I believe he's running track. He is. He's a jumper, and he plans to double in track next year and be a long jumper as well. So just another one of those, in the long line of kids who come and do both at Oregon. He's going to be one of them.
I love that. I love when dudes do that at Oregon. All right, last one. Boy, this is tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict one of these 2 linebackers gets in that 2 deep next year. I can't say I've studied either a whole ton. I just know they both fit what this staff likes a lot, which is like size, but not to the point where they're like clunky, old, slow middle linebackers. and then they can both run, which I think is really important. So Hodge and Tristan Phillips, like Hodge was the late flip from Michigan State. Tristan Phillips is a guy who's been with this class a long time. One of the Duck fan favorites because he loves to troll UW fans. So I'm just going to irrationally love him and hope that he seeds the field early.
Yeah, Dan said tonight that Phillips reminds him of Betcher, just for the traits and like his love for the game. And also in my head, I was like, yeah, he also, I think, hates Washington probably as much as Bryce does too. So that's good. I was going to go one of the linebackers too. I think I will go with Tony Cumberland. I think that he is just one of those really, really big body guys. He's listed at, what do they have him as? Where is he?
He's a 6'4",
285. And once he gets here, he can add 15 to 20 pounds. Like, he could be a 300-pounder. He could be, I mean, he won't be as big as Bear or Amari, but, like, I don't know. He could be, I think, a Terrence Green type, like that sort of size, tall, lengthy edge or, like, disruptor in there. Maybe tough early on, like as a freshman. I know they're going to be deep at that position too. Probably going to lose some starters, but still have a lot of depth behind them. But I could see him. He's also got the benefit of he's been in Eugene for the past 2 years playing at Willamette. So, like, he knows this program. He's been in this program a lot, like, just kind of on the outside looking in. But, I would not be shocked at all if he had some Oregon material already and has been studying up on it a while just because he knows these coaches and just has that proximity effect.
Yeah, I mean, even if he's a guy like, Matt Johnson was this year, who came in early, was an early enrollee, put some good weight on, impressed the coaching staff, and was out there throughout the year at different times. So I think at a minimum, that is certainly an attainable goal for Tony.
Agreed. All right. Any notes on people that we didn't go over? I mean, Messiah Hampton, I think, could be good down the road. Bryson Beaver, I'm excited to see him in person because everyone who has seen him throw in person is like, wow, this kid has some special arm talent. Do you have any other notes that you want to hit on these guys?
No, I mean, it's such a nice blend of like high impact guys. And then, we brought in a couple DBs today that I think, especially the prep kid are a little bit more developmental, but can see a role down the line. I think even the Lewis kid from Idaho, like true speed and twitchiness. And I know some guys get thrown off by the fact that he's a 3-star, but like you got to remember, he's a 3-star because of his NFL potential. He's not a 3-star because of what he could be in college. I could easily see Hudson Lewis carve out a role as a good slot receiver, punt returner. Seriously, I mean, like there's tons of guys that you can look at that carve out, that are like really, really good college players. So there's still a role for that. You could.
I was thinking Ladd McConkey. Sorry, got my Georgia guys mixed up. My white Georgia guys mixed up.
There you go. But hey, totally. If I want to make my own white comparison, like you look at a guy like Britton Covey at Utah, who was a freaking game changer when he was there. Once again, like twitchy return guy early in his career, and he's been a freaking punt returner in the NFL for years now. So I just think we have to remind ourselves that these rankings aren't everything. Think about the same people who were hating on Jaden Kennedy out of the portal and Malik Benson out of the portal are the same people who say, why are we taking Hudson Lewis? Why are we taking this prep DB today? It's like, well, we should probably trust the staff at this point.
Agreed. We also should mention Devin Jackson. He seems like a guy who has been a high riser in this class.
Definitely.
I don't know that he'll have a role just because there's so many safeties on this team, so many defensive backs. But, if not a role next year, like down the road, I think it'll be a really good player for this team.
For sure.
Okay, any other signing day notes? Should be noted that tomorrow we expect Kendra Harrison and Devin Jackson to sign. Jalen Lott at some point, whether that's today or tomorrow. Like, we do believe that's coming. And then the entire Chris Henry Jr. saga will come to an end at some point. I'm less optimistic that it's tonight. Like, it feels like a tomorrow thing at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was hoping some of this would get wrapped up today so I could just kind of sleep like a baby and actually focus on my real job tomorrow, but we'll see.
Happen. So you just got to make this your real job. That's my key.
I need more members. I need more members.
Hey, we got a lot today.
Yeah.
We got a lot today. Just got to pay next time.
There you go.
All right, as if signing day was not enough news, Oregon lost both of its coordinators since the last time we talked. Of course, that was expected. Will Stein announced at Kentucky as the next head coach. Tosh Lupoi expected to be announced at California as the next head coach. Any day, any hour now. Initial thoughts from you just on both of those news breaking items. They came, I think less than 24 hours after each other on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little about Tosh. I think great for him. If you had asked me before the season who were we more likely to lose, I would have said Will. But I think this opportunity was just too good for Tosh being an alum, and I know he had a ton of player support behind it. I think it makes perfect sense for him. I think that we have a perfect candidate in-house, so I think business as usual and is just a win-win for all parties. I think that I don't get some of the hate for him. Our defenses have gotten better every year. We're a top 10 defense by like almost every metric this year. I think people don't realize some of the culture, motivation, just like player relationship stuff that he provides is like elite. Watch him in some of these Ducks versus them and tell me like that dude is not beloved and like an integral part of what we do. So I think he's certainly going to be missed. I don't mean to undermine that at all, but I do think we have a replacement in Hampton that's going to do great, and I trust Dan to bring in the next great guy. When it comes to Will, I had kind of had some optimism that we could hold on to him, but I think as soon as Kentucky knew they could get Will and therefore fired Stoops. I don't think they would have fired him if they didn't know that Will wanted to be there. I think both his parents are Kentucky alums.
Yep.
Grew up a Kentucky fan. I watched an interview with his mom on Kentucky radio yesterday, and the minute I saw that, I was like, we never stood a chance to keep him. So obviously an awesome opportunity for him. I think Dan has been planning for this, thankfully, for a while now, and that's what happened. That's what happens when you have an awesome program. You should expect this and want it.
Yeah, I did not know how keyed in with the Kentucky program he was. I didn't know the backstory. I knew he went to Louisville. I knew he was from the area, but I didn't know that both of his parents were alum, that he was going to games there as a little kid. When I found that out, I was like, oh yeah, this is, of course. I'm a little bit sad because my daughter went or goes to the same preschool that Will's son went to. So who knows if they were close friends or not, but it was I did see Darby there picking up Will's son every now and again. So now that won't happen. But whatever, that's fine. I think it's, like you said, a great opportunity for both. Glad that they can get, I don't know if these are their dream jobs, like Kenny at Arizona State, or Mario at Miami, but great jobs at their, alma maters. What more can you ask for your first head coaching job? That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of concern about the playoff and how it affects things. I think that it's great to have a head coach who did it himself and can kind of walk through what that should look like. And I don't know, I get the concerns. I just am going to choose to believe that these are really good dudes because everyone I hear talk about them says they're really good dudes. And I think the thing they want most for these players that they brought in and love is to help them win and help, bring us a title and do the best they can. So I get that, if Will Stein previously had 18 hours to game plan, he probably has less than that now. But I don't know. I just trust our ability as a collective staff and the infrastructure that's been built out and all the analysts and everything involved in this process to where if we lose in the playoffs, it's not going to be because either of these guys got hired somewhere else.
And Lanning did confirm tonight that both Tosh and Will are expected to stay on throughout the playoff and help this team. He didn't say specifically that they would stay on as coordinators and call plays. He left it a bit open-ended there, I think smartly on his part because he doesn't want to paint anyone in a box. But he said that they are both expected to be here helping the team throughout the playoffs. So that's great news. Yep. I want to talk fit for both. Well, we talked fit a little bit at Kentucky and at Cal for both of them, but I want to talk more about guys that we think they might take with them. Will obviously is taking Pat Biondo to be the new GM at Kentucky. That's awesome for Pat, the former director of recruiting, I think, at Oregon. Great opportunity for him. I think that's very cool. I don't know who Tosh will take to Cal, if anyone. I know that there's a lot of concern that Tony Tuioti, will be one of those names. I think he used to coach at Cal, right? He's got history with Tosh too, so that may be a name. There could be, guys like Cam and some of these defensive staffers, but Is there anyone that really scares you on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball that could go elsewhere with these coaches?
I think there's definitely a possibility, and I'm sure that there will be one or two. I wouldn't expect like a full-on raid like you've seen from, I know like Jamarcus Shepard at Oregon State is bringing like a ton of dudes from Bama. I just think the precedent has kind of been set. I mean, you saw the same with Dilly, not bringing a bunch of guys with him there. I think that the way that this is handled and the support that Dan has shown these guys throughout the process, and I'm sure helped them get these jobs, I think that there's no bad blood. Like, it's all good. The vibes are good everywhere. And so I think when that happens, like, the only situation you're going to see is if it makes sense for somebody to go get a title and or compensation that just wasn't realistic here. So you're not going to see a lateral move anywhere. You're not going to see a guy taking a job that's similar. You're going to see a guy maybe who takes a job to be a coordinator or be a position coach when they weren't going to be able to be afforded that opportunity here. And if that happens, just like with Stein and with Tosh, that makes sense. And I bet Dan will be the first one to encourage them to do that. And I bet he's going to take on the challenge of finding the next guy. So Tony Tuioti is not leaving to become the D-line coach at Cal. If he were to leave, it would be because he gets to be the DC. And that's an opportunity he would want, and good for him.
And same with Merringer. Like, he's not going to go be the tight ends coach at Kentucky. He would go to be probably the offensive coordinator because he knows Will well and they know the scheme that each other like to run. So agreed on all fronts. Let's talk replacements. Starting on the defensive side of the ball, it appears that Chris Hampton will be stepping up as the defensive coordinator. This was very well known, I think, for anyone who's been paying attention, that Hampton was going to be the next DC here. He's kind of been groomed for that position. I think it's a home run move. I think that he's had a lot of success, not only recruiting, but just game planning on the field. Like, just look at the secondary, the number one passing defense in the nation. Like, that doesn't happen without Chris Hampton. Do you agree?
Totally. I think this is just a seamless crossover. I think business as usual. I think he's a perfect fit under that Lanning system. I think he's been here a bit now and is ready to take on that role. I'd be interested to see like where they pivot with that on-field guy. I know Tosh was obviously involved in kind of the edge room outside linebackers. I know we have a couple analysts there that have done a ton of work there. So I think depending on what shakes out with who ultimately, if anyone follows Tosh there, you'll see that kind of clear up a bit. But I am 1,000% happy to have Hampton as our DC. There's been a lot of schools who have gone after him the last couple of years, and I think we've held off, kind of hoping that we would be able to offer him this opportunity in the near term, and thankfully we were able to.
Yeah, I think one of the names to really pay attention to is Cam Argani. I think he's an analyst right now for the defensive lines, or the defensive end, the edge room. He's someone I could really see going to Cal with Tosh. He's also someone I could see being made the, I don't know about defensive line coach, but at least the outside linebackers coach here at Oregon, if he stays. So that's someone who I personally just really don't want to lose from this program. I think he's a really good coach and got a bright future here.
Was he the one hyping Nas up in the Ducks versus them and
that's
literally predicting what UW would run on their first?
Yeah, well,
that was like
that, it's like, oh my god, how do you guys know this much? How do you ever lose?
I feel like that's not getting enough national run or like discussion anywhere. I saw that and I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Oh my god, just predicted exactly. Yeah,
I know.
Incredible stuff. OC is where this gets a bit more interesting. Arguably the most coveted coordinator role in all of college football. Like, I don't think that's crazy to say. Oregon has one of the best offenses, and with everything that Oregon provides to you, and just knowing that, I mean, Dan even said it today, like, he said, I bet that the next coordinator we hire will go on to be a head coach, because that's kind of just what happens for his offensive and defensive coordinators. I think that Dan has his pick of the litter here. I know several people have been contacted. I know there's a short list of names, and the current expectation is that an announcement comes soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we know by the end of tomorrow, before the weekend, like, who this guy is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like made official, because I know in some states, I think Oregon's one of them, the job has to be open for a certain amount of time before an actual hire can be made. But this could be something where, Pete Thamel or Pete Nakos is reporting tomorrow or Friday, like, all right, this is who the guy is going to be.
Yeah, I think everything you said. I mean, just the ability to be in full control of the offense, obviously with Dan as the defensive guy, like you've seen Will, like that is his baby and he can run it the way he wants to. I think that Dan will stay in the similar vein, similar tree, whatever you want to call it, just because of like continuity for the system, the players who are there. I mean, especially if your goal is to retain Dante Moore, that makes a lot of sense. So I think you'll see that narrows things a bit. I would be surprised, for example, if you were to go out and hire an air raid guy. I just don't think that fits what Dan wants to do, and I don't think it fits the personnel on the roster. So, as you mentioned, I think that puts your scope down to a few different names. Some of those that have been floated out there, I think neither of us are really quite ready to mention those maybe publicly, but I think QB guy would be ideal, just like Will was, a guy who can work with quarterbacks and develop them, because that's obviously a huge selling point of this offense. And then just once again, I mean, Dan has his profile of coach that he's brought in, so I would be surprised, if this was a 59-year-old dude.
Yeah, I don't think Chip Kelly is walking through that door. And good Lord, so like I didn't realize how polarizing. I guess I did realize it, how polarizing Chip Kelly is, but even putting on Twitter, they're like, oh, I think it'd be cool if Chip came in as an analyst without calling plays, just someone to come help the team, like, which we've talked about before. Everyone's like, oh my God, I want him nowhere near my program. Like, no, that guy does not fit. It's like, okay, I'll talk about something else now. Not touching.
Well, you just don't know. Sorry, you just don't know scheme in football. Then, if you're saying that. And you also don't realize the landscape is different because, first of all, an analyst doesn't recruit. Second of all, even if Chip was hired as our OC tomorrow, which he's not going to be, recruiting, you don't need every guy on your staff to be an amazing recruiter anymore. That's not the nature of the game. So, yeah, don't feed the trolls. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This guy won a national championship a year ago and schemed up a great offensive game plan against Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
And
I
he
remember
very
that.
well might be hired back at Ohio State in a week. And I'm not going to love that.
Yeah, that would not be great. How do you think this all impacts Dante? I mean, I think we were probably in alignment a week or two ago that it's like, 95%, maybe even more, that Dante returns. How has that changed for you? I may have dipped slightly, maybe a little bit less confidence, more open to the idea that he could leave for the NFL because Will Stein is not here. But where are you at with that?
It's a hard one because, I mean, I've looked at 3 or 4 mocks the last week of guys I trust, and he's in the top 5 in every single one.
He's up there, man. Yeah.
So it's a question of just managing kind of, am I ready versus am I really going to turn down top 5 money versus something working in our factor, these teams drafting in the top 5. Yikes. I hope people are reminding him that situation matters for a quarterback. And if the worst thing is that you slip to 14th next year, it might actually help you. You end up on a team like the Broncos with Bo versus go play for the Jets or the Raiders or the Browns next year. So it's hard. It just depends on the person. Everything we've been told and heard about Dante is like he's going to value all that stuff. But when push comes to shove and you have the opportunity to be 1-1, like, I get it. It's hard to not value that piece of it. As far as the offensive coordinator goes, like, I'm with you. I mean, I think it definitely plays a factor. But if Dante makes it known to Dan, which I'm sure he has, that, like, he might be interested in staying, then Dan's not silly enough to bring in an offensive coordinator that hasn't had a track record of developing quarterbacks, would have an offense that fits Dante, and confident that that would be a positive development for him. So the last thing you're going to do is have Dan go out and hire a guy who, like, wouldn't fit with Dante and for one reason or another, personality-wise, scheme-wise, whatever it is. So it's marginal, if anything, long story short.
Yeah, I completely agree. It feels like if Dante's staying, he is signing off on the coordinator. Like, Dan is not making this hire without him being okay with it. It's just, like, scary thinking about him going to the NFL because we see it almost every year, like quarterback, very talented, goes into the draft, isn't quite ready, needs more development, but goes to one of those teams in the top 5 and gets thrown into the fire right away and is not allowed to grow. This almost happened with Caleb Williams. I think he got lucky with the hiring of Ben Johnson because he was able to get a little bit more developed now, and he's turning into a decent quarterback at least. But, I mean, if you put, like, I can just see it now. I'm sure you can too. You put Dante on the Jets next year or the Raiders next year. Like, he's got a 3-year career. Like, he flames out because he does not have an offensive line to protect him. He doesn't have receivers, and that just stunts him mentally and, developmentally. Like, it's just tough, and obviously we don't want to see that for Dante. We want to see him thrive more than us wanted to see him back next year. Like, if he could go somewhere this year in the NFL and sit for a year and still get money and not come back, like, I would probably choose that for him over him coming back. But, like, obviously I want him back. I just don't want him to play in the NFL next year because I think we all know he's not ready.
Yeah, totally hit it on the head. I think that it's, I don't know, I just hope his camp, and believe his camp, I really do, like, understands that. I think they see the value in more college starts. I think the evidence is growing by the year of the benefits that provides. So I still feel confident he's back, but I will say, like, if he does go and he goes top 5, like, awesome. That's great to have another top 5 QB. And, there are OC options out there that come with very good quarterbacks that have previous connections to Oregon even. So we'll see what shakes out.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the end result is not going to be bad for Oregon, no matter what happens. I think that'll be fine. All right, let's wrap this up with some quick college football playoff talk. The rankings came out last night. Again, that feels like a million years ago. Oregon up to number 5, which, at the moment looks to be very, very ideal. First round game against an ACC champ or a group of 6 team, likely Virginia, maybe James Madison, Tulane, or North Texas. Then a second round game against Texas Tech before potentially playing Ohio State in the semifinals. If you could freeze this bracket right now, would you take it?
I think I would.
Okay. I know we kind of differ on this, so I'm curious.
Boy, have I gone every which way about this. I am just so adamant in my heart that if Bama wins, they jump us. I would love to be wrong, but I just think that's the case. And anyways, even if they don't, I don't want a bye. So I would honestly, like, borderline want them to jump us in that scenario. The only situation where I would love to have happen right now is if we could somehow get to 6 with Texas Tech as 3 and Indiana as 2. The problem with that, and why I don't think that's necessarily possible, is because I don't think they would put Georgia and Bama at 4-5 and just have a rematch a week later. If I wasn't worried about that, or if those weren't the 2 teams playing or anything, that is the most ideal situation. Bama beats Georgia, Bama, Georgia 4-5, we get Tech 3-6, and then we have Indiana, and we're on the opposite side of all those teams. I don't want to bank on that, and so, yes, I do think the most advantageous path for us is just chalk. Texas Tech wins, Georgia wins. If Ohio State is as good as they think we think they are, we're going to have to beat them anyways. What's the difference in doing it in the semis or the national championship game? So play them in the semis. I think the matchup with Texas Tech is tough. Like, all these matchups are tough. I've gone back and forth a little bit on, like, would I rather Indiana or Texas Tech? Texas Tech has a really, really good defense, but I think that their offense is average. Yeah. I think we can stop their offense, so I think we can win that game.
Just saw that Georgia's starting center might be out for the rest of the season. Well, could play a factor this week. I don't love that, but...
So, sorry, I'll just keep going a little bit just on that, because you mentioned it. The reason why I want that as opposed to the other, because what I see happening is Bama wins. So 1 is Ohio State, 2 is Indiana, 3 is Texas Tech, 4 is Bama. I think we're 5 then, and Georgia is 6. And we are playing Bama in Miami. So I have no interest in DeBoer again. I have no interest in playing in Miami in front of an 80-20 crowd. Like, no thanks.
I just can't imagine that Bama jumps them. I know we differ here. That just seems, 5 spots. I know for beating Georgia it'd be a second time. That feels like a lot to me. But either way,
But even if they don't, even if we're 4 and they're 5, it's still the same matchup in the same place. And they get a tune-up game.
That would be. Oh, sorry. That would be the worst thing possible. Because especially, the bye is exactly what you don't want. If Oregon gets into that top 4, if they get that 4 seed, you have 32 or 33 days off between games. That is so long. Like last year, we thought it was a long time. It was 25 days. This all needs to be fixed. The calendar needs to be fixed. It would be classically ironic and terrible if, Oregon did everything right down the stretch. They lost the game. They did what they needed to do to get back into the top 5, top 6. But then it might have been a little bit too good, and they got into the top 4. Like, that would just be very ironically frustrating. But I can kind of see it happening because I don't trust Georgia against Bama. Like, we've seen them lose that game before. And I don't really trust Texas Tech either. Like, I know they beat BYU soundly a few weeks ago, but, it's hard to beat a team twice, as we've seen before. So, I don't know. I'm nervous for those 2 games this weekend.
Yeah, we'll know. Obviously, Texas Tech playing early, so I think we'll kind of know where things shake out with that. Obviously, if Texas Tech loses, then that kind of opens things up a lot. And in that situation, I'm truly worried we're going to get a bye. I do think if Texas Tech were to lose, I know you will disagree with this, but I honestly think they could just, if Bama wins and Texas Tech lose, they could just put Bama at 3 and Georgia at 4. They're not going to drop Georgia behind us because
you don't think so?
Georgia has the same record as us, and they're not going to penalize them for playing an extra game. So if they go off of last year's precedent, Georgia's not dropping behind us, and if Bama beats Georgia, Bama's ahead of Georgia. They've beaten them twice. So I could see in that situation, if BYU were to win early and Bama to win, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 2 teams just all backed up. We're probably 5 in that situation, unless they bump us all the way to 6, with Texas Tech being 5, because they're not going to penalize them too. Either way, I just think every Bama situation winning leads to us playing them. Every Georgia, Texas Tech situation winning just locks us into Tech, and I would just rather play Tech than Bama.
Much rather play Tech than Bama.
Yeah,
I don't think that's, disagreeable at all. Okay, you got anything else? I think we got a good show tonight. I think we're good.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, sounds good. We will be, I don't know, maybe I've been watching my phone pretty closely. I don't think anything's broken while we were on here, but hopefully as you are listening to this, either later tonight if we get it up tonight or tomorrow, good news has come across the airwaves. Again, look out for OC news sometime soon. Look out for Tosh news to go final sometime soon. There's a lot happening in this short span of time. It always feels like Oregon's bye weeks or weeks where they're not playing where the most happens. I swear I never get a break from this stuff, but I do love my job, so this is a lot of fun to keep doing it. Today, National Signing Day, one of the best days of the year. It's exhausting, but it makes what we do a lot of fun.
It's definitely nice not having a game we're ramping up for this weekend in a way. I'm just getting to sit back, enjoy some football, enjoy your signing day, coaching carousel stuff. I think about years where we've been getting ready for a game this weekend or worried about losing our coach or worried about losing decommits, and it's life's good.
Can you imagine right now having offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator out, signing day, OC, DC searches, or at least OC search, and then also preparing for Indiana or Ohio State this weekend? That's Friday night, right? Friday night game?
No, Saturday night.
Is it Saturday night?
Yeah, Saturday night.
Didn't they do Friday night last night? Last year we played Friday night, I think.
It was Friday? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Maybe it was Saturday night. I could be wrong. When it was Pac-12, it was Friday night.
That's what I wrote in my takeaways article today. I was like, look, that Indiana loss, it obviously was annoying at the moment, but I would rather be us than Indiana right now, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's arguable at least saying, are we for the better for just having lost that game? Because if we hadn't, we'd be that exact situation you're talking about right now.
That's the most, big brain Dan Lanning theory, that he tried to lose that game, but obviously he didn't do that because he's way too much of a psychopath to try and lose a game at home. If you're gonna lose a game, it's the Penn State game, obviously. But I don't know. It should be a fun weekend of football. I'd love that Dan was asked tonight by, of course, James Crepia, who he's rooting for this weekend. He's like, I don't care. I'm rooting for good football. Like, yeah. What do you think he's going to say in that situation? But, oh well, say la vie. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Check us out on YouTube. Find us on the Ducks Rising podcast. Find the Ducks Rising podcast on Apple or Spotify. And if you'd be so kind, give us a rating and a review. Most importantly, go over to Lockerverse and check out Ducks Rising. Seriously, it's fantastic for days like this. It's going to keep going for the next couple days too. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun. So go on there, check that out. Subscribe now and support the program. Let's rise together. We'll talk to you guys next week.